Welcome to Power 106 FM Midday Show. Look, listen, Louisville. This is the place where we talk about it and tell it at 12. We will expose you to all that Louisville has to offer, especially providing good interviews with local artists, people in the community who are doing things, having their own private movements, whatever it is, we'll be able to provide you that information. Today, we have an awesome man in our presence this afternoon, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. And we're going to kind of talk about some topics and things that's happening in the city.
All right. Hello, how you all doing? First of all, I just want to thank you all for having me here on my very first podcast. Yes, very first podcast interview ever. My name is Sean.
Actually, you're on the radio.
Oh.
Yes, you are live on the radio.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had to make that correction. We are live on Power 106 FM KY. And yes, go ahead. Introduce yourself. Yes, it's still a podcast for us.
All right.
Where we can take the information and share it with you. You can share it with your friends and people that may not be listening today. But I'm pretty sure you're going to invite those to come on and listen to us.
Right. Without further ado, though, my name is Sean Jenkins. That is the government that I go by. But I'm an artist locally, as you heard. I'm an artist by many different forms, and I go by the name of CHOP. CHOP is an acronym for actually constantly helping our people. Because that's what I plan to do with the proceeds of anything that I make from all the talents that God has given me. And that's what I enjoy doing most, constantly helping out people. So.
Right. And I'm so excited to have you here, CHOP. Excuse me, I'm a little out of breath. We just been talking and getting excited about what the new year has to offer. And CHOP has been a wonderful blessing to myself, my family, and welcoming us here to Louisville. Because as I said on last week's show as a recap, I'm a transplant here, but I love Louisville. I love the laid-back style. It's a lot going on here, and I believe it's a brand new season for something brand new and a brand new location. So CHOP, he's an awesome person. Like I said, he welcomed the first person to welcome us with open arms, and we just love him instantly, like instantaneously. We had a connection. So I wanted to invite him on the show to talk about what he had going on. Like you said, you help out in the community. That's one of your biggest efforts is to make some changes in the community. Yes, ma'am.
For those who really don't know me, one way to probably get familiar with me, there was an incident that happened a few months ago in front of Kroger's on 20th and Broadway that involved a Vietnamese man and a young black male child. He was probably about 13 years old. And I'm actually the one that intervened in that when the Vietnamese man grabbed that little boy. And it was on the news and whatnot. So I kind of got a name for myself in doing that. I was really there to just help the little boy, but by me doing that, this new age cycle, social media, grabbed it, and everybody knew my name from that. So just to get anyone familiar who doesn't have a picture of who this voice is on the Power 106, that's who I am.
Right, on Look, Listen, Louisville on our midday talk show. And this is where we tell it. And I'm glad you told that, to give people a visual of who you are, kind of put them in a place of, okay, maybe I was there at that Kroger that day. Oh, that's that gentleman that does great. Efforts in the community to help out, to intervene when there's trouble, or maybe even when there's not.
Like I said,
even if it's just to help somebody.
Right. It was months ago, and people still are recognizing me. It kind of trips me out, But it's a blessing to me as well because, like I said, I love to help out people.
Right.
And this comes from a short story of, I've had a long life of the common story. I actually have a poem that I wrote called Common Story of a young black male in the community, and that was me and my story. So I went to prison, came up from single parent household, made a bad choice when I was younger, went to prison for a while, and just decided to change my life around. And one of the biggest joys that I get, or I found that I get, is helping out people. And I'm glad that I get that joy because I really regret all the years and times that I've hurt people. I haven't physically hurt anyone that I know of, but I have through fear or terror, or what I've known as terror, by even just saying, man, I'll beat you up, or shut up. That can be terrifying to some people, and so I no longer use words like that. I try to find a common denominator with different problems and things now, and I'm actually trying to use a manipulation tactic, so have you, with the youth, because I found coming to them with the Bible, over the Bible verses, has them running away from me. But coming to them with poem or something in rhythm, like hip hop, and which as I do, draws them to me, and then I show them all the different talents that God's given me.
Absolutely, and then also exposing them to what may be inside of them.
Right.
And we never want to shy away, of course, from our Creator and the Word of God and things like that. So it's our interpretation and how you're interpreting to them so that they can come along. And then our biggest concern as adults is where we're leading them to. So I understand that with your music and with the poems and with the creative side of yourself. And one thing I want to piggyback off of what you said, that word regret. I want to just express myself to you right now, Chop, is that regret, it shouldn't be a regret, because all the circumstances and situations that you've been processed through at your age has now shown you how to creatively do things and do it the right way as opposed to the wrong way.
Amen.
We all know right and wrong, even from a child. But now with those experiences, you know exactly what not to do. Make sure that next generation is not being led to do those things through manipulation tactics, lying, cheating, stealing, threatening, those kind of things.
Right.
And it's funny that we bring that up because, and not even so much funny, because last week we talked about our discussion that concentrates on society and our cultures and our defining moments. So recapping that content, we talked about my car being stolen.
Right.
So as an update, yes, the car was recovered.
Amen.
And I actually got to meet some great people through that process, even down to the people who have my car right now that are working on it or allegedly will be working on it.
Right.
And they're great people, Amber and Karen and the crew at Kavanaugh's, just to give them a shout out, and if they're listening today. But I learned so much through that process. And the thing about it is I'm not bitter. I want to get better. I want my community better. I'm not upset with the person that did it because there's consequences, circumstances to everything that we do in life.
Right.
So my prayer is that whatever consequences comes to that individual or individuals, that it will help propel them.
Right.
And it also won't be a regret like you talk about, right?
Right.
So we always want a better outcome. It's kind of hard some days,
right.
Because we still,
We're human.
We're human.
Nobody's
It's
a
the
robot.
human side. But I got to learn about a situation that happened with the woman that did some intake information on my situation with the auto body. And she expressed how she was robbed right in front of her doorstep. And it was her neighbor across from her that did it.
Right.
And so what she was left with, what she told me yesterday is that has changed you. That situation has filtered in a change in you.
Right.
Whether it's to be more aware, maybe get to know your neighbors better,
right.
You understand? Even down to having my house rekeyed and relocked because my keys are no longer in my hands. I have those no longer in my possession.
Right.
So even through the locksmith, he even said, with changes in the community, it's changed so much that we don't knock on each other's door.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to have you here today, because you really have helped my husband and myself and in changing that culture.
Thank you.
Going on, knocking on doors, letting letting people
right.
know your neighbors are okay, things
Right.
like that. We don't do that much anymore.
Right.
We've gotten away from that because the text is not equal to a touch.
Right.
You understand? We text message each other. Text message each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't kind of communicate voice-wise.
Right.
And that's why I love Power 106 FM and Listen Louisville, which was created out of the content of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is a new start.
Right.
So, 2020 got it for us, right?
Yes, right. Definitely got us for it. Definitely got us for us.
We don't want to have any discriminatory behavior to our own culture. That's my biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never want to be fearful of my culture, my color,
right.
where I come from,
right.
my African American authenticity,
right.
my character. We talked about all those things on last week's show.
Right.
But what I like to also talk about, do you think, let me ask you a question, Chop.
Yes.
Do you think it's time to take this culture to court, in a sense? Meaning our culture, meaning our black culture.
Right.
Maybe taking it to court. Is there a case that you could bring before our people that you believe that we should be tried for in order to better our community?
Well, most definitely. Stagnation, if I just would like to say that word, or high expectations. And I would put those two together by saying that as a community, we all see each other constantly every day being still or not doing things. Yes, we see, us as a community growing, or us as black people growing in a whole as far as around the United States entirely. But if everyone worries about just today, I stole this thought from the 12 Steps for an Alcoholics Anonymous study. It's a big book that they go by or whatnot. But one of their things that they go by is just worrying about today. So just for today, I'm going to take care of this. So I do feel like we do need to be held accountable, but just for that day. I don't want to talk to everyone about things that has happened years ago or what things look like are to come. If we just handle what's going on in the community today, we make sure today is fine, or that guy sitting on the corner doesn't sell drugs today, or if that guy over there who's not picking up a pen or pencil or book today, if we get him to pick up a book today, not worried about if he does it tomorrow or next week and all that, we worry about today, then I believe we are successful for the years to come in just today. And this is if God allows us to go forward with seeing another day. So I definitely feel like we need to be held accountable and go to court, but just for today.
Woo, absolutely.
I don't want to talk about what happened to Trayvon Martin. I don't want to talk about what's going to happen if this guy continues to sell drugs. I want to talk about what we can do for him today.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. That is awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. You are absolutely right. If we do not concentrate on today, we get in a place of, like you said, we are stagnant, we procrastinate, and we don't move forward. And then also we are distracted.
Right.
Because that's what the enemy comes to do, to steal, kill, and to destroy us by distractions, which is our past.
Right.
Yes, the past is prevalent.
Right.
Absolutely. In your private time, learn about your past. Learn about where you come from. Learn about what it is that you are made of.
Right. You said a key word, in your private time. Now, we can have a private time as a group if you want to, but as far as reaching a whole, and I feel like making an impactful message, it would be to worry about today. That's the biggest thing, because like, if I did crime back when I was younger.
Right.
If I don't worry about not going to rob somebody tomorrow, I mean, I get to tomorrow, I'm going on an unfor notion. I can put faith in it, like I do in God, and like I do in my next breath. But for me not to do a crime tomorrow, I think I'm giving it too much energy. If I don't do a crime today, it's so much easier.
Oh, wow.
It's just that much more easier.
It's just that much more.
And then tomorrow, if I don't even want to say if tomorrow. I won't worry about today.
We're going to worry about today. Look, listen, Louisville. You better look at it today. Right. You better listen to it today. Louisville, we need to get it together today.
I hope my child gets an A+ on this report card next week, but I want him to get an A+ in class today.
Amen. I have to say amen to that. That right there is definitely where we go. Mm-hmm. That's where we need to focus our efforts on today. What is it that you're doing to progress today? Right. And not walk away bitter from the past, things like that. That's what I think our biggest issue is in our culture, our past. Mm-hmm. Our past is choking us out as opposed to allowing us to have the power of a voice.
Our past causes us to be stagnant too, because usually when we go back into the question of the court, when we go into a group setting, everyone gets to talking about the past and all their ideas, which is the past is great and the ideas are great, but the conversation becomes only that, a conversation. If we do it today and we only got so many hours of today, people will cut their conversation short and start doing things.
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. And that's also where it begins, and where we find out where it begins is also with a vision.
Right.
You know, with a vision of what today might look like.
Amen.
You know, even from the time you put your feet flat on the floor from waking up, you have to give yourself a vision of what today, you want to see a little bit of what today can look like. Mm-hmm. And by walking in today, staying in today, don't worry about what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. We can do that like we talked about in our private times. We can have sessions and touch one another and agree with one another about how to get over, how to overcome. But in today is where you proceed into the next thing, into that next motion, into that next movement. Right. And that's what I also want to bring our culture, I would say, bring our culture to court on is a movement. Right. Meaning a movement from procrastination, stagnation into your dreams, into that setting of, well, where's your vision start? Right. And I believe it begins in your heart and then in your mind. Mind and heart are, of course, they commingle, they're the same. Right. Whatever's in your heart is actually dealing with your mindset. Mm-hmm. So I think your vision starts there. Right. And then from there, once you get the vision, how do you make your vision stick? By finding out where it begins. Right. That root, the root cause of where this vision is coming from. Why is it that I'm so passionate about what it is that I do? Right. Like you said, whether it's to commit a crime today or not, whether it is to go to court, go to work, show up at court. Right. You know, you got a ticket and you stagnant, you're afraid. And I think sometimes in our culture to bring ourselves up to a level is to get and cast out fear
Right.
of dealing with today.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
I think that's a good thing.
Thank you,
I
thank
think
you,
what
thank
you
you,
that
thank you.
right there,
And
child.
just touch on this little piece a little more.
Okay.
When I talk